I am Eon. It is Sunday, November 2nd, 2025. As I put this together and record, we're going to look into the first set of releases for the month of November 2025 in the realm of fantasy. Sword, sorcery, magic, all the fun things. First up, we're going to look at 3D Art Guy, who is releasing all of this stuff. Who would have suspected, right? So first up, we have Dragon Slayer, and 3D Art Guy writes, a mighty warrior famous for helping exterminate the ancient dragons and conquering the world for his liege. The Dragon Slayer is also famous for wielding a great cross spear. Combined with his wielder's great strength, the spear could bury itself deep within a dragon's hide and cut a boulder in two. Wow. Next up is the female bard. She comes in a couple of different poses, standing or sitting. She also comes with a sword, and I believe 3D Art Guy said that this was an often overlooked class, of course, the bard. Next up, we have the Dark King and the Nameless Wraiths. So these come in a few different varieties. I like the fact that he's holding that mace as though it's just a lightweight mace. It's a light mace, not a heavy mace, you know. And of course, flaming sword, all that. And there are several Nameless Wraiths. You'd probably want to print off maybe, I don't know, 8 of these guys maybe to have around. Now, nobody suspected that there would be the Spanish Inquisition here, which comes with about 3 different characters or poses, of course. This is, of course, a bit from the Monty Python universe. I've never watched it personally, but I am at least tangentially familiar with it. Confess your sins, or they'll bring out horrifying implements of torture, like the comfy chair. For the loyalty reward for those that have been with 3D Art Guy for over a year, there's the Dark King, except this time in his spectral form, maybe his true form. Arbiter Miniatures is doing Ratmen Part 1. I believe Ratmen Part 2 will be next month. But here's the advanced FDM models. So there's Sword and Shield, and what would you call that, a club on a long polearm? Here's Shield and Club, and I guess unarmed? For the resin pre-supported, we have the same miniatures, only slightly posed differently for the fact that these are pre-supported and don't need quite so much care. And then for the support-less models, these are drastically different, but again, you still get pretty much the same models. Sword and shield, you know, long mace, light mace and shield, and weaponless. They did tease this image already deep into December and January sets, and Arbiter's very good about doing that. They'll release the models and then tease them throughout the month, and there's the teaser for December already. Artisan Guild has not really put out images of everything yet. We do have this image here showing everything you'll get with the Iron Keep War Trolls. So pretty cool to look at. These are pretty typical models from Artisan Guild with their characteristic style. I look forward to seeing better renders of these, but for now, this will have to do. Archvillain Games, I think, just put out their release this today. Old World Primal Roar. Kazrai, Wrath of Zangor. And as I looked through this, I was thinking to myself, you know, this could be a science fiction world, kind of like Planet of the Apes style. Here's a jungle-born chimera. I love the idea that here's a chimera, but it's coming from a whole different crop of animals. There's Braka Gorathon, Yaruk Munkin Spellcarver, and Azravel the Leon Hunter, Karnoth, a Rheinkin Barbarian. It's an interesting mace. Zur, Sark Firebrander. And then we have some Braka Dranthru. And in typical fantasy, they release 4 versions of each of these models. Braka Goragur. Braka Thraga. It's a heavy stone on that thing, I bet. Here's Braka Zubari. And Braka Zolthag, excuse me. Seem to be some sort of wizard casters, or maybe that one's a bard. Is that a whole statue he's carrying? Wow. Okay, so always a fascinating release from Archvillain Games. BattleYak Miniatures, I was thinking this was going to be a sci-fi release, but I believe it's actually fantasy, so we'll stick it over in here. The Dynasty of Null, I think they must have done a sci-fi release of this years ago, or a while back, and these are flesh and bone, and as best I can tell, these belong in fantasy. These are the Risen Flare Fiends. Come in a few different variety. Risen Tomb Wraiths. Dynasty Necrovipers. Dynasty Necrocobras. And lots of ways that you can customize the models as well. Here's a Necroviper customization. And of course, many of the different heads that you can use. These are Flay Maiden Necrovessels. And here's the necromental aspect of the seamstress. So I suppose she's the one putting these dead warriors together, if you would. And here's the base for that model. A very intricate model, very interesting. And here is the bases that is put together for these models. The Beholder Miniatures is doing like 4 different factions this month. Always exciting to see. Here's the Evergreen Elves Forest Dragon. There's lots of detail on the wings of this dragon and on itself. To me, it looks like it's made out of wood, so I'm not sure if it's animated, like magically, or what. Here is Thalinar, the Evergreen King. He can be with or without the spell effect. These are the Forest Militia Command Group. So your typical bannerman, champion, and musician. For the Astari Dynasty, you have a command group for the riders. So again, your bannerman, musician in the back, and the champion with the, get up and go. Here's the Peasant Militia. And the Imperial Supply Chariot. Not sure exactly what all they're supplying. Looks to be mostly food, but could definitely be an objective for any type of game. In addition, there's the Silvermoor Elves Kingdom Archers. Belshazzar 3D Print has shown us Whisper of Crimson Death, Daughters of the Crimson Blade. Here's Voice of Crimson Steel. The Shadow of Crimson Throne, excuse me. And there's Crimson Rose. These are Crimson Horizon Executioners. Crossbows seem to be the weapon of choice for the Executioners. Crimson Morningstar. All from Belshazzar. Bestiarum Miniatures is doing Cult of the Moth this month. So here we have the Moth Queen Exuvia, the Idolator, front and back. Here are Acolytes of the Moth. Not exactly sure what changes they're undergoing. It's quite a bit going on there. Here's Moth Acolyte Metamorphs. So I guess they are becoming the Moth. Ascended Moth Guardian with quite the horrifying, what would you call that? Thorax? Abdomen on the back. Here's the Moth Knight Oleander. Feels like that's a reference to something, but I don't remember. And the Forgotten Way Beacon, which is a really nice piece of terrain, usable really just about anywhere. Bite the Bullet Studios is doing Forest Village this month, which we've seen kind of similar models before, so a lot of those are in the throwback this month. Here we have a Mousefolk Farmer and a Bearfolk Bard. Goatfolk Vendor and a Axolotl Shepherd. Wonder what he shepherds. Does he stay in the water? There's a Mushroom Herd. Maybe that's what he's herding. And these come with 3 different models. One is big, 2 are small. There's a Hedgehog Folk Guard and an Otterfolk Fisherman. all these, I always look at these and think Burrows and Badgers, Redwall, all that fun stuff. Here's an Owl Folk Gatherer and a Deer Folk Shaman. Very elaborate deer folk there. Here is a Crocodilian Warden, and I thought it was kind of interesting to see that it comes with a backpack option. Here's a Badgerfolk Librarian, maybe more of the gentle giant sort, and then Chloe is the Untamed Bandicoot, which is the exotic model for the month of November. There's also some scenery pieces, which we don't often see from Bite the Bullet. Here's a turnips cart and vegetables cart, as well as an edible bugs cart. The animals can keep that. Thanks, but no thanks. Blackcrest Miniatures has Trouble at Millstone Mines with some mole folk. So here are 4 different mole folk, 3 of which have candles. I can see them fighting against kobolds, fighting over who has the candle. Earth Elemental Shark, which is a World of Warcraft reference for any of you that, no take candle. And then mine terrain pieces, which are always fun to have as well. You could obviously print whatever you needed and create the various tracks of the carts, as well as have loads for the carts or not. Cast and Play is doing Beyond the Grave this month. So there's Beyond the Grave. You can see all the models on the left, as well as the Throwback, which is, of course, at this point, they pick and choose from several different months and past releases. We have 1014, which is Zombified Elf. We have a Zombified Dwarf, a Zombified Dragonborn, a Zombified Gnoll, Kinku and Tiefling, Zombified Half-Orc. I guess, oh, okay, I get it now. It's a play on the fact that he's half-orc. He's half of a, maybe it's a quarter-orc then. Zombified Goblin. And again, I think he's eating on his entrails. I think I said that in the preview video. Here's a Zombified Human Guard, which is actually a really good model to have for, that could be put in so many campaigns. A Zombified Peasant. Zombified Halfling, which took an arrow to the neck. Wow, a Zombified Necro Dragon with Rider, I'll note. And then some Fat Zombies, which come in 3 different varieties. Claudio Casini Art has this for the month of November. We have the various races as Samurai Warriors, a Lionfolk Summoner or Wizard, an Aarakocra Male Warrior, Paladin, Defender, Cavalier, Male Satyr, Fawn, Rogue Thief, Pirate, Swashbuckler, daring swordsman, and an Aboleth Creature as your model here for monsters. Clay Beast Creation has this released this month. I didn't write down what they were called overall. We have a Mind Flamers squad and a Pyro Flamers squad. I believe I have these labeled properly. Mounted Apostle of Divination and a Fire Altar squad. And Fenrir Sons Squad throwback set. In addition, there's the Warped Diviner, which is a really intricate model here. Claymore is still not showing us the actual renders yet, so we'll go back to the concept art we looked at before, and hopefully in the next release we'll be able to have those. The Demogorgon, of course, is coming up. They've seen a lot of those released recently because it's later this month that the new season of Stranger Things will hit Netflix. CobraMode has put out their release for November. There's the throwback on the right and the release on the left. Let's take a look. We did not see before Morokai the Totopari Mage. We did see Kodorin, Dorchin, and Toshki, which are Outriders. Here are the Gurak War Tapers, and they can come without their armor as well. And here's Dwargan, a Gurakan warrior. and of course lots of different types of bases, both as circular and square, as well as a little bit of various types of scatter terrain that you can put about. No one else does the stuff quite like CobraMode does. Crippled God Foundry has only given us a very brief preview, so I'll pause here for a second. This is the Denizens of Hell, Lord of Terror. So there is the release on the left, along with a special throwback collection on the right. But that's what you'll be getting this month, and this is the only renders I've seen released so far, so hopefully a more robust release will be shown soon. There's some of the terrain, okay, as well as, of course, the adventures and such that get released too. Custom Miniature Maker won me back this month because we're doing dwarves. So there's a casting forge, rune pillars, king statues, anvil, and hammer, and some more, actually, so we can take a look here. Now, of course, Custom Miniature Maker is, at least in my mind, they're all about the texture rollers. They're all about these texture rollers that you print off and then you roll them into some clay and generate terrain or bases or whatever it is that you're looking to do. Here is the Dwarven Forge stone floor with various weapons and, well, forge items too, like the anvil. There's Songs of the Mountain, which apparently has lyrics from song written about here. So probably a lot of time and energy was put into making this particular roller and making sure that it came out properly. Here's the Hoard of the Dragon. A few armors and arms and a bunch of coins, of course. Here are the Dwarven Hall's wall. So pretty much a complete set once you roll it out. And magma melting forge tiles. I guess there's been an accident underground. Now again, of course, with these you can cut these out as you want and create your own custom bases, you know, and no two bases are going to be exactly the same. Davale Games has the Dark City of Morlock, so some orcs that we have, along with Gori, the forest tribe's leader, and Galanthir elves, Gullerin and Romel. Now, I don't know if these are Tolkien-inspired elves or not, but I like the fact that, to me, these are unique names. Maybe these were in the Silmarillion, which I've never read, but still really cool to see some different characters than the ones you just always read about and see. Here is the Great Beast of Morlock, which has a very interesting kind of, almost like a take on a rhinoceros, but not rhinoceros at all. Daybreak Miniatures has put out this preview of the Choir of the Blighted Ash. Very nice models here. These have a lot of character. From the burned ruins of fallen kingdoms rises a brotherhood bound in sorrow and sin. The Choir of the Blighted Ash. Once noble knights, now cursed by their own devotion, they march beneath a sky of soot and silence. Their hymn a dirge for the living. Dice Heads has put out Badger Spore Druid and Weasel Battlemaster, a Raven Shadow Monk and a Rabbit Ranger, Grandmaster Amber Plume, the retired duelist, and Varia Tricktail, a raccoon wizard. Here's Grizzle the Barkeep NPC. Now, we've seen all of those in our preview video, but new is the Spiderling Bombs, Earthane, the Chronovore Demon, and does that mean it eats time? That's interesting. And Veiled Paw Assassin Dragonkin. These are 3 Clockwork Duelists and 3 Glimmer Cats. Interesting. DM Stash has put out this preview here. We're looking at a Wild Hunt. Here's Ashkarid, the Sand Strider. I guess that's like a scorpion. And Big Iron, a soul-forged hunter. Brazani, a Lionfolk tracker. And Deimos, the Dreadmaker, Cyclops Marauder. Brox, the Orc Beastmaster, comes with his pet boar, and as a bust as well. Estelia, a renegade golden griffin, and Forenzia Fireblood, fire elementalist warrior. Wow, that's a really cool. Both of these are really cool. These are always some great models from DM Stash. Illyrian of the Lost Fleet, a spell sword artificer, and Orzi of Varikan, dwarven berserker. There's a fly flying around in here, so if you hear something buzzing, that's what. Pentelia, mother of all dragons. I like the fact that it's not just Tiamat. It's a new 5-headed dragon. And then Ramulek, dragon of the southern sands. So 2 dragons? Slagsting, shape-shifted bloodhounds. Wow, okay. And I just finished watching season 2 of Stranger Things because I'm trying to refresh my memory, and that definitely fits that theme quite a bit. Tekrana of the Bloodfangs, half-orc barbarian. The Devouring Eye, and the Thorn Mother, corrupted forest sentinel. Here's Tira of the Farlands, an Outlander Ranger, and Wolfgang the World Shaker, a monster hunter. Zarya the Sun Elf Snake Sorceress over on the right, and then the Mountaintop Encampment Hunter's Respite. So I'm curious how big that actually is in order to be on scale. Really cool looking model though. Dragon Trapper's Lodge is still not showing us any renders, so we'll just go over the preview art that we saw before. For November, it should be Masters of the Weave and Part 2 of the Spore Sovereign. Okay, kind of see where we're going here. But also, until November 6th, there's this free model. They do about a free model a week, I think, with Dragon Trappers. You just have to go and get it yourself. So for the Masters of the Weave, I think was what they called it. We have these characters here, lots of spell effects, animated furniture, again, more spell effects like various walls and domes. And again, I mentioned this in the preview video. I think this piece of artwork is just really, really cool. It's black and white, but that doesn't make it any less awesome. I like the detail of this. For the Spore, we have the Soldier tier. We have these preview pieces of what should be coming this month. And again, this will continue into next month as well for any of you that are all about the mushrooms and, those of you that are a lot of fun to hang out with because you enjoy fungi. A bad attempt at that joke. Dragon's Lake Miniatures has Demons out in November. We've looked at most of these already, but Yearning Succubi Command Group, the Cult of Pleasure on their mounted horses or horse-like mounts, Cult of Pleasure, the Scion of Pleasure, Scourge of Desire, Scourge of Desire on horse, and Bearers of Lust. Duncan Shadow has put out Crowfolk as the first part of the release here. Along with Crowfolk with Wings. These also come with multi-parts, and you can get them with wings or without. And here are some various heads, which I thought were pretty interesting, so you could have different types of birds as your characters instead of just crow. There's a couple of random sculpts that Duncan Shadow added to the release, as well as some 15mm goblins. My, what big teeth these guys have. Some shaman, and I believe these are wolf riders. They look almost like lions to me, but I think it's just the scale. And some various trolls. Always enjoy trolls with the goblins. And some, squig riders or the like. Dungeon Classics has only given us preview art at the moment, so we'll pause here and look. A couple of goats, and what is that, a slad, I believe? And apparently some pirates. We'll have some pirates this month. I think I went as a pirate on Halloween, so always interesting to see pirates, in my opinion. Dungeon Dog has shown us the release for November, and a lot of this gets previewed and teased throughout the month. So we do have, of course, the Bone Claw B and C, but there's another one that we're missing. Unfortunately, I don't know where that one is. We have the Clorichir Bust, which is the last month's model, and a bunch of Ettercaps. So a bundle of Ettercaps that you can print off and have around. And these, of course, are like spider people things. And then there is another Ettercap that they released as a bonus as well, which is an Ettercap on a pumpkin, and some pumpkins as well. Because, you know, again, while this is a November release, it's coming out at the end of October, which is around the time of Halloween. But, I mean, pumpkin for Thanksgiving and stuff like that here in the States is not unheard of. Echo Art Studios, and I think this is just their generic image in general, for the month of November is doing Forge of the Iron... I apologize. I had to pause for a second there and recollect myself. That was the wake word for one of my Amazon devices, and I hope that doesn't trigger any of yours either if you watch this and hear me say that. I was trying to figure out what was going on, and that was what that was. It listens too hard. Anyway, Forge of the Iron... And I'm just going to leave that in there because it was funny, if not annoying. Forge of the Ironbeards seems to be the release, and I'm not sure exactly what all is being released here. It's kind of hard for me to follow Echo Art. They don't post a lot on their regular site. They post on other sites, but they're dwarves, and I feel the need to include them. And look at this guy here with, you know, he's got 2 shields, and he does not look like he is defenseless, or offenseless, rather, either. Here is one on the back of a bear, and here is the king. I mean, these are all awesome, awesome models. Epic Miniatures has given us update number 1, Swamp Adventure. So here is some swamplands scatter and swamp huts, some elevated roads so that your characters don't have to traipse around in the water. There's some swamp boats and some toad folk. So the toad folk are basically, these are additions to their set number 22, but also adds to just characters that can occupy your swamp world. We have a Copper Dragon Wormling, little prankster dragon, just learning how to tell jokes. A Swamp Elder. If you live long enough in the swamp, you become part of it, or so they say. A Slime Adventurer is the most heroic slime you'll ever encounter. Yes, he has a tragic backstory on how he became who he is, best told while rested at a campfire. I'm guessing that's a story reference. Garlic Druid. The smell of garlic hints at his presence long before you see him. He doesn't believe in vampires, swears he never saw one in the very long life he's lived. Swamp Eyes is a slimy eye tyrant, claims to be the ruler of the swamp. It gets provoked. Boa Constrictors can become very long, and they live in the wetlands. Surely encounter a few while you stay. Amphibian Beast hunts the toad folk because they taste like chicken, or so it says. It would rather eat real chicken, but there's none in the swamp. The Snake Shaman. Someone once asked how it can decide anything with so many heads. The answer was simple. You just need to hate everything equally with all heads. Tortoise Swarm. Imagine dozens of little tortoises slowly running towards your enemy and defeating them. The ultimate attack and defense. A copper dragon to a new druid. As I said before in the preview video, I have an uncle, or guy we call uncle, that says, I'm out of here like a herd of turtles. I think he would love those models. Chupacabra. Sometimes it gets a feeling of not belonging here and gets a little homesick. Just ignore its mad talk about a world without magic. How a horrible daydream. Vine Serpent. The vines move, I swear. Someone who died before he could say, I told you so. And here's a toad boss, the ultimate toad. Some even claim it's the avatar of the dark toad god. If so, some human sacrifice would be appropriate. And then we have the Topaz Dragon, another set of dragons. As usual, the young one comes as a mount. And that is release number 1 from Epic Miniatures. For update number 2, we have Undead Souls. This is a skeleton dragon, the perfect weapon for any lich or necromancer. Just always remember that it's still a dragon. Here is the Lich Summoner. Some wizards turn into a lich to become immortal. Others just want the joy of summoning entire armies of undead. And they do get an entire army of undead in this release. These are some of the various types of summoned undead that Lich Summoner can summon to his cause. Or her cause. We're equal opportunity people here. Very elaborate model is the Undead Beetle Lord. Lord of the Beetle Folk was enslaved by the powerful Lich of the North. The Grave Digger. Digging graves is a job that nobody wants to do, but that needs to be done nonetheless. Otherwise, the seasoned towns will be overwhelmed with carrion-eating ghouls. These are Frankenstein maids, so I'm assuming Victor never stopped after he created the original monster. She was made to serve guests in the local tavern, fitting for a haunted ghost town. Soul collectors. Sometimes souls get lost in the fog, can't find their way to the afterlife. You see, souls are a powerful source for magic. It would be a waste not to collect them. Zombie Triceratops. Another zombified dinosaur, works with the zombie T-Rex from our old releases, armored version included. Gnome skeletons are mischievous skeleton gnomes with morbid humor. If his jokes won't kill you, he'll just do it himself. They have such big heads. Angel Zombie, a crazy necromancer did an unholy act of reviving an angel. He failed to realize that a chaotic mix like this cannot be controlled. Bone Rocker, he was once a bard that touched your soul with his calm music. A crazy fan paid a necromancer to bring him back after he died. His taste in music changed after experiencing death, though. Then we have a Stitched Pig Beast. Every butcher's nightmare, you might think it came from, HE double hockey sticks, but in reality, it's a man-made horror. And then last but not least, we have the Stitch Golem. Another man-made horror. The body parts of a dozen humans were used to stitch together this abomination. I guess it just wants to be a part of a family, because Ohana means no one gets left behind. Sorry, my own personal reference. Flesh of Gods Miniatures is doing the Necro Forge this month, and I'm not sure if it's really fantasy or science fiction, so I'm actually going to include it in both videos, because I think you can make it work either place. I mean, look at the piping on the ground there. You don't typically see that in a fantasy world. But anyway, here's a Lich Engine and Necrotech Wyvern, the Bone Grinder Titan and Flesh Golem Machinist, Forge Drider and Steam Wraith, a Spine Reaper, which looks an awful lot like a Xenomorph, Vathar the Necrotech Master, so that's who's guilty of all this stuff, a Flesh Auditor, and a Necrotech Acolyte 1 and 2, and a Necrotech Brute. Forge Engineer, and some Candlemen. Okay, so it's like golems maybe. And for our heroes, we have Arcana Bronze Fists, Braith the Cog Breaker, Axis the Forgeborn Barbarian, Dagran the Forgeborn Rogue, and Albrecht the Steam Priest. For the busts, you get Braith the Cogbreaker and Vathar the Necrotech Master. For the throwback pack, there's the Forgotten, a Celestial Construct, and Wasteland Executioner. Fleshcraft Studios has the Guildgrave Cohort, Vargex and Vault-bound Beast on the right, and unfortunately that's all the models we have to really look at this month. If they release more renders, we'll come back and look at those when they do. Gamescape 3D has put out quite the list of models here, as always. So we have the Aqueduct with the water wheel, and they have a lot more close-up pictures of that. We have the ruined tower wall there. and it also comes as a whole piece as well. We have little land masses that can be put out in the water, as well as lots of little hills and mounds that can be put and built up as needed throughout the terrain as well. Ghamak has just given us some preview art this early in the month, so we're obviously continuing with the Shogunate, as well as the, I forget what they're called, but the Twilight Court, something like that, the Undead group. Goetia Miniatures is called the Unborn Legion. Some of the creepiest models ever, and I'm sorry if I'm offending by saying that, but they just are. Here's Drazum the Flesh Host and Kalor the Unborn Blade, Zorvath the Hollowed and the Bloodsting, Karvek the Unborn Stalker, and Varric the First Vessel. And some offsprings. There was a third model that I did not include just for space, but it pretty much looks the same as those. Good Freakin Miniatures has only put out these two images that I can find for November previews, and looks like we'll be doing goblins. Here's Kuldrek and Rusgar. Goonmaster Games is doing Humble Hummingbirds, as well as some bases with a little bit of brick here and there, along with some banners, some old shoes, and some bottles, and a couple of weapon options to put around. Great Grimoire Games is doing the Abyss Devourer. So we have Sirens of the Abyss, looks to be about 3 or 4 different models there. There's Captain Diego de Alba, the Slick Horror, 4-armed Jack, and a couple of busts, one of Thalassa and one of Jack. Heroes Infinite is doing Dragonborn versus Sulfur Dwarves, Chaos and Firestorms. I believe this is fantasy, could be science fiction, you decide. Karzel of the Thousand Horns, Sereth Flame Shadow, a Bard, Durka, the Sulphur Prophetess, Ormir, Master Monk of the Ashes, Kurdak, the Blessed, Gladiatrix Velkara of the Red Sands, Razgar, the Slave Herder, Zarya Scaleforge, an Artificer, Ildren, the Bronze Weaver Engineer, Infernal Arage, Kurdak the Blessed on Obeliscorn, Arena Fang's Warrior, Sulphur Gunner. This is the centerpiece terrain model. Obsidian Sacred Guardians, and I believe these are parts of the upper tier for Hero. Arena Fang's Warriors, Sulphur Gunners, Blaze Riders, Sacred Horns, Sulphur Steel Suit. And of course this isn't everything, and then some modular scenery parts as well. Very stylized here, but definitely seems to be a play on Chaos Dwarves, but slightly different. Highlands Miniatures is also doing their play on Chaos Dwarves with the Sons of Marduk. And here's just a release of everything that you'll be getting for the month if you want to pause and look at that. Because if you look at these models very carefully, you'll see that they have very similar things. So like here we have the long axes, and here we have two-handed weapons. These are inspired by ancient Assyrian and Persian, cultures and things like that. They have different hats, different weapons. These are armed with ranged weapons, and these have different hats as well. So we'll definitely come back and look at these when they're released with a little bit more information. M3 Desion is doing orcs' heads, orcas, goblin slingers. And I like the fact that they're throwing the goblins with the bombs. It's a good use of resources there. Orca's nailers in the middle there, they, are shooting, I guess with guns, I'm not sure. And some teethies down there at the bottom. Kyoushuneko Miniatures has shown us the preview concept art for apparently a terracotta warrior's army. Labyrinth Models has a jousting set for November. We have knight helms and shields, all sorts of various options to mix and match. Mounted knights. Joust accessories. You can put together any of the fences in the middle that you want for your jousters to joust over. And of course, they need somewhere to stay and set up, so some joust tents, which is of course where their knights and squires and templars or trumpeters will hang out. Last Sword Miniatures is doing late Roman Limitani and the Queen of the Dwarves for their 2 releases. So the late Romans, we have a tribune and we have a command group. We have them in combat and as a scene in general. Just a nice little diorama that you could put together. There's also a Roman fountain too. For their dwarf release, we have Queen Theralia and a dwarf army standard bearer. Bardic, a dwarf hero, and a dwarf Iron Legion. Dwarves with crossbow and catapult firing. Oh, well, I didn't notice the rocks are actually in mid-air. That's really cool. And here they are loading or reloading the catapult, and a couple of statues, to mark your Dwarven Kingdom. Loot Studios is doing Dawn Keep Assault in November. Here is everything you'll be getting for the month. Pretty full release. For heroes, we have Kolya, the Wall Princess, Elmek Silversong, Dara Willowbeam, Mari Sculler. Wow, that is a heck of a... That's more like a ballista. And Gallus Yarlak. Very dynamic models. For your enemies, you have Scarlet Wisp, Scarlet Silencer, Scarlet Wizard, a Bugbear War Priest, Shadow Hunters, Bugbear Artificer, Tormented Giant, Scarlet Dread Knight, Earth Shatter Worm, Rubius, the Scarlet Archmage, and Zephyra, a Skycrown Rock. I'm actually really excited to see Bugbears. I feel like they're an underused race, in my opinion. For Environment or Scatter, you have a Dawnkeep Chest, Dawnkeep Ambusher, Training Dummy, Rock's Nest, Dawnkeep Platforms, Tower, Wall, Defense, Gate, and Bridge. For the 4 busts, there's the Bugbear Artificer, the Scarlet Wizard, Elmek Silversong, and Koya, the Wall Princess. And for the prop, there's the Zephyra Slingshot. Wonder if you could get it to actually work. What type of... I could see people doing videos of... This is the filament we use to print this. Lost Kingdom Miniatures is doing Aurora Khan's Volume 4. I had to hunt around to get these images. I don't know what to call any of this. These seem to be like little red goblin guys for the most part. And this character here, which is like a troll or an avatar, not sure. Low Level Encounter in November is doing the Dung Forge Swarm, so we get to take a look at this. Notice it includes red dragon guano piles. I like the fact that it is specifically red dragon guano. Bombardier Flying Beetle, a Rhinoceros Beetle, a couple of Fire Beetles, and Goliath Stag Beetle. Mammoth Factory is only in the preview art stage at this point. I believe we're going to be looking at like fire giants this month. Here's Isadrina, Mountain Queen. We'll come back and look more later. Mammoth Props has shown us some teasers as well. Some sort of mug and some sort of like potion with bubble, boil and trouble. And wow, okay, that I'm actually pretty excited about this prop. Look at that, complete with a cookie tray. You have to love that. Here are some other props that they're printing off as well. Mantic Vault has what looks to be kind of a scarce release this month, but you know what? I'm actually okay with that because it's just easier to cover, and still some really cool stuff here. So for fantasy, you have this fantasy woodland set, so you can print off some trees and a fallen log and some mushrooms. For Kings of War Vanguard, there's the Ice Elemental. And Kings of War, there's the Tundra Wolves. Mini Monster Mayhem has only given us this preview of Monster Madness Volume 1, releasing on November 8th. This is heavily inspired, all caps, by Monster Hunter. You'll see many familiar monsters and a couple of poses for each. Okay. MOM Miniatures has a huge release with the Green Bellies, which are basically halfling warriors. Here we have the Halberdiers and the Archers. The Cavalry on foot. Not sure how Cavalry is on foot, but okay. Light Cavalry on ram. Okay, they have a mount. Lancers and Militia. A cannon and a rocket launcher. Couple of Captains. A Banner of Battle. Here we have a Wizard and another Wizard. A Warrior Priest. And a couple more Warrior Priests. And a couple more Warrior Priests. NPC Forge is doing the Pitch Burrows Syndicate Circle. And I think this could be sci-fi as well, but looks to be steampunk. And this is all they've released so far, so we'll come back and look at this in more detail later in the month. One Page Rules is still only done previews. I haven't seen actual release images yet, so these are in the work in progress images that we looked at before. We'll come back and look at them more when they release the actual images. I didn't want to just grab a bunch of preview images for the sake of that. Papal 3D is doing Goblins and Trolls. Goblins of the Foggy Mountains moved into the abandoned city of Loria underneath the mountains and lived in the halls and passages left behind by the dwarves. But of course, that wasn't all the dwarves left behind. So here we have some goblins, and they brought not just one, but two cave trolls. They're also summoning a bunch of bats, which is fascinating in my opinion. And of course, for the monthly mythic, we find the other thing that is down in the depths of Loria. For the throwback set, there is the Watcher, which is probably guarding the way into Loria. Parasite Collectibles has really done something weird here, and I may have these mislabeled. This is Valmore and Meroth, Wings of Torment, I believe. But then one of the most disturbing models I've ever seen, and I believe this must be Dravik, Wing of Hunger. I was thinking that it may be Wing of Torment, but we're not going to stay on that long. Primal Collectibles has Uther Pendragon as a preview. I believe they'll release about a week into the month, and wow, that is a nice looking model. Okay, let's move on. I have to think about this one. Print Your Monsters has Volume 10 Ancient Bones pack out. Printed Legends apparently is doing Gullivar. Is that like a boulet, like a land shark? And a bunch of grubs? Not sure. Print and Paint Miniatures is doing Legacy Reforged, and it looks to be several dwarves. Y'all always tempt me with these dwarves, folks. So we have a few models here. We have a king, and you can get him for just $1 if you want to join that tier. There's a couple of slayers, or those types of fanatical dwarves that you see. And the thing I love about these models is these are all FDM ready to print. Like, you don't have to do these in resin. Now, they do have a certain style to them because they're printed that way. There's a couple of really cool busts as well as some stone sculptures. Just, wow, really nice models. The Printing Goes Ever On has only given us a very brief preview. For the RPG tier, we have Spiders of the Forge. And then for the Wargaming tier, we have Steel Vein Clan Dwarves. Oh, wow. I guess it's a good thing I've already backed at the Wargaming tier. More Dwarves. Always, never enough Dwarves, are there. So here's episode 7. He's got a ballista back there, doesn't he? Oh, wow. And they've got a cart. And here is the RPG tier. I'm not sure what to make of this. Steampunk, maybe? It almost looks like an Onyx from Pokemon. Reconquer Designs is doing a lot of historicals this month. So we're going to put these in the models video as well. But here's King Pedro and King Afonso the Brave of Portugal and his squire. Here's Bertrand du Guesclin and Sir William Wallace, you know, the character that Mel Gibson played in Braveheart. There's King Robert the Bruce, which of course my college professor did say, you know, that his screaming of freedom is not anything that anybody would have said at the time. And there's Sir Robert the Bruce killing Sir Henry de Boyne. Wow. And some villagers, as well as some banners. So really cool historical models for any of you looking for that type of stuff. Rescale Miniatures has given us a look at the Ancient Order Immortalis, the Nocturne Assembly, the Elder Brain Dragon. Here's Bahamut. It's a nice looking model. That is a really nice, and look at the muscles on that guy. Wow. Okay, the Nocturne Assembly, Graveward Legion, the Flesh-Forged Behemoths. They're chained to their arms. The Coven of the Maw. Wow, so we'll look and see more models of those too. For RPG figures, the fantasy release this month is an ogre. Sometimes the classic general models are the best. Sculptuner has shown us some preview art of a faceless rager and a corrupted naga. There's a Deep Elder Terror and Terror Huntress, as well as some renders of the models that are coming from this concept art. Smurf Minis is doing Hourglass Coven's Thieves. Apparently this is inspired by Wild Beyond the Witchlight. I'm not familiar. I'm familiar with what that is, but I'm not familiar with these particular characters. But each member of the Hourglass Coven has a thief who hangs around the Witchlight Carnival. Okay. Soul Good Studios has given us just this one image that I could find. This is apparently an ooze warrior. So I guess ooze inside of a suit of armor or something like that. Stormborn Collectibles has this undead dragon. Skeleton dragon. I didn't write down what it was called. Something to that effect. Really nice model though. STL Miniatures has the Battle Arena, and this is apparently ready to be printed in FDM. It is a really big model for this month. Of course, you need some characters to fight in the arena, and I love the fact that they made a beholder carrying weapons. Wow, okay, maybe it wants to kill a different way. Here we have a few more characters as well, and I'm guessing this is one of the rich tyrants who maybe owns the arena. Takes all the bets. This, I believe, is the Failing Wretch, which comes from, I think, Rangers of Shadowdeep. And these are, I believe, the Ghoul Rotters, which probably come from Frostgrave. Terrain Essentials is going back to the Wizard School, but this time it's Corrupted. We have some Corrupted Stairs, an Enchanted Room. Really cool, like a Potions Room. I really like these models. Mimics. Boards and books piles and cauldrons and bookshelves, as well as an entrance to the school as well. Threat Factory has shown us they're doing Hobgoblin this month. So we have already seen some printed models. They've actually got print test models put out. These are just nice looking models, along with some scattered terrain, including a throne and a really nice, what is that, like a pit trap door rather. Tiles from the Crypt has Scorned Scaffolds, modular scaffolding set. So if you are looking to maybe recreate Goblin Town from The Hobbit or something to that effect, you could do so. Or just maybe the docks at a local, fishery. Titan Forge Miniatures is doing Ursa Empire. We've looked at several of these models. He's riding a cockatrice, the bravery of that. Here we have a drunk guy, and we have a couple of other characters. I tried looking up names for these, but I was unsuccessful, so I do apologize. We have some people riding bears, and the bears seem to be okay with that. Here we have several different people. We have some with sabers or scimitars, and these actually have shields, so I guess they get a bonus to defense. And here we have some with ranged weapons. I like the fact that they come ready with their own rest, as well as just bears that don't have riders as well. For the Hero Titans of Adventure, we have this snake-like character. Comes with several different weapon options. We have this mage, wizard, sorcerer character. Seems to be maybe a tiefling, I'm not sure. And here we have another character, maybe elf, not exactly sure. The feet are a bit weird. And then we have this dragon character. Apparently this is a meme on the internet or something right now. The multi-headed dragon, like the snake rather, as well as these characters. And again, I don't know what these are, so I don't know what to put down for them. Tixarli Factory for Fantasy is doing a couple of church, maybe even mausoleum sort of buildings. In addition, there's also some trees and some pumpkins. Again, a little bit late for Halloween, but you get the idea. Wictus Miniatures has put out these previews here, but that's all we've got so far. We'll come back and look more later. Wargames Atlantic has put out these preview images, and I wasn't sure what to call them. They're still early preview images, so these are likely to change, and I will adjust those in future videos, hopefully. Sometimes it's easy to do that with Wargames, sometimes not so easy to do. Some Foxfolk as well. Weapons. Warp Miniatures teased Gnomevember, and they do not disappoint. You also get a few bears as well. And some of the gnomes are riding hedgehogs or even mice. So here are the painted miniatures that Warp Miniatures is showing off, and their paint jobs are always amazingly well done. I love the whimsy of their characters, and the paint job on top of that makes the characters just all that much more lovable. Of course, it also makes me not want to buy your stuff because I know I'll never quite reach that level of awesomeness. Of course, I can't do it if I don't try, right? I do love those models. White Angel Miniatures is Beastman this month. I believe I have these more or less labeled correctly. This is the Beast Great Shaman and High Shaman. I may have those mismatched. These are Beast Harpies. Come with several different options. These are Heavy Beast Warriors with two-handed weapons. 3 Infernal Trolls. An Infernal Giant. A Beast Tetrarch. I guess Tetra meaning 4, so 4-armed. White Werewolf Tavern has not put out renders yet, but we'll revisit the bustling bazaar. Here's Rika Sharpwind, Beatrix Wordwright, Clover Mossroot, Scaled Dancer, a Loot Goblin with a huge nose, and a Market Guard. World Forge Miniatures is doing Nori Akido Gardens. So we have all of this as that you see before you. We have pond and trees, as well as some walls and gates, shrine and lanterns, and some ornate lights as well. The wooden bridge and Zen rocks. And folks, that is going to lead us done for the first preview of November. I appreciate you watching. Thank you for being with me along the journey, and I hope you continue to stay with me as we continue to review throughout the month and throughout the months as we look forward into the month of November. Have a wonderful day, and thanks for watching.